Check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Can hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. Happy Friday to our audience.
Happy Friday to all of our buzzer beaters out there. It is Fun Hat Friday. Coach Paul has his hat on. My fun hat is somewhere lost in the move, uh, but we will find it. We'll find it somewhere. Right now, I got the Chicago hat on. Shout out to Chicago, birthplace of Topstep. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this session is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity. We want to see how we could take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. This is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay. I've been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023. That sentence did not sound right. Doing a lot of talking this week. Happy Friday. Uh, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since April of 2023. I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some of my experiences, some knowledge, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. You are all our chat, our audience. Thank you for joining us as always. Let us know how you did to end the week. Were you up on the week, down on the week? Anything that you learned from this week? Did you follow your plan this week, right? Whether you were up or down, you might have a red week and followed your plan. You might have a green week and didn't follow your plan. Anything that you could learn going into next week and the rest of the trading year. But it is Friday. Let's go over some of the news we had for the day. We had today Michigan sentiment come out. Michigan sentiment was the big number on the day. Came in at 55.4. This is the sentiment prelim number. So we'll get Michigan sentiment finals in a couple of weeks. Came out at 55.4. Forecast was 58. We also had the WASD report for all of our ags traders out there. I saw soybeans with a pretty big move. Maybe we can pull up one of those charts. But anything else you got on the news, Coach Paul?
No, that Michigan number really didn't make that much of a spark. We just rallied because that's what stocks do. Other than that, pretty calm day. Let's begin.
Calm day, but all-time highs nonetheless. And these have been the calmest all-time highs. Market's kind of just grinding upwards. Take a look at the quote board. There are 36 different markets we could trade with Topstep accounts. And today to the downside, we had cattle down 1.02%. Cattle has been in a little bit of a correction here over the past couple of days. Cattle down 1.02%. The Russell down 1.04%. Nice pullback there in the Russell. And right back down to 50% of yesterday's range. Yeah. And hogs, lean hogs down 1.12% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we have micro Bitcoin futures up 1.65%. Corn up 1.97%. You want to see the effects of the WASD report? Take a look at this 3-minute candle here in corn. Here's WASD. And if that's not a big J trade, I don't know what it is. Closed right above it and a nice trade into the end of the day.
What time was WASD?
11 a.m. Central Time.
Wow, that is the epitome of a J trade.
Yes, it is.
Put that in the J Trade Museum.
And the epitome of waiting for the dust to settle on the news. One of the things we talked about is the sustainability of that volume. The reaction initially is to the downside. If we attach a VWAP to it, and this is a 3-minute candle, it's a huge candle. This is almost a 2% move to the downside. That volume was not sustainable. That was 10 times the average volume in 3 minutes. What did VWAP do? Flat line. Do you buy it here? Maybe, maybe not. You have a spot to establish your risk. But we talked about this with the CPI candles, right? And we said yesterday, WASD is CPI, FOMC, PPI, all of it mixed into one. And that is why that's a huge move there to the downside, and then a nice recovery by corn here. And then our biggest percentage mover to the upside, micro Ethereum futures up 5%. Something got into crypto today. Two of our top 3 leading percentage movers. To talk about our big 4, we have crude oil up 0.35%. The S&P pretty much flat, 0.07%. Gold up 0.19%, and the NASDAQ up 0.4%. The S&P and the NASDAQ both making new all-time highs today. I'm going to pull up a NASDAQ chart since we finally got it done, Coach Paul. Take a look at the weekly since this is Friday. Let's take a look at this weekly in the NASDAQ. What are you seeing here?
Oh, I'm looking at a very bullish chart.
Yep.
Um, all-time highs, finishing near the highs of the week. Um, I, what else is say is up and to the right. And this was on big data this week. But we hit all-time highs. We settled. Did we settle at an all-time high?
This is the highest close that we've had. Yes, highest close in the Nasdaq.
Well, it should be high at the all-time highs, right?
Right.
So, uh, no, there's nothing here. Actually, it's just I think it's gaining momentum.
Yeah,
So,
that's what it feels like. Sellers are just kind of letting go of the rope, right, in the tug of war, and just letting it go a little bit. And buyers are just continuing to pull the market higher. 24,159 evens, new all time high in the Nasdaq. We did see a little bit of a sell off towards the end of the day. We'll get down to a shorter time frame chart, but that was probably just a little bit of profit taking. Highest close that the Nasdaq futures have ever closed, and going into next week, going to be a ton of volatility next week. Maybe not early, but on that Fed meeting and maybe after. We'll see if we can continue to push here. Are we talking about 25,000 soon in the Nasdaq? It's about a little less than 4% away right now. All right. Go ahead, Coach Paul.
yeah, the great close. I just wanted to Billy said made a statement. I've been seeing charts on Twitter or Twix. I like that. That say CTAs are max long. Does that really mean anything? I just made a sly remark that you should be long at all-time highs if you're trading well, right? Um, so yeah, they are a max long, and they should be.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. If you're
so
if you got a clients and you're short this market right now and you're losing money,
you might lose them.
probably don't have any clients.
With that, another thought too is fund managers, even CTAs, because they're supposed to be diverse, but especially managers in the equities, you'll never get fired for losing money by owning like blue chip stocks or
Right.
Apple. You could lose money, but you're not going to get fired. But if you're short and it's making all-time highs, you're
We're not
probably
paying
going
you
to
for it.
lose your account.
Right. Right. Billy was saying that I guess they were trying to spin it as a warning, maybe that everyone's net long. Uh,
Maybe, yeah.
yeah, I would say heed with caution on some of those warnings. Many a trader has tried to call the top, but I see what you're saying, Billy. Right, if one side of the boat gets a little too heavy, but sometimes the call is just to buy it, and these equities are grinding up. Let's see what happens though. Next week we got a Fed rate decision. Assumptions that the Fed is going to cut rates 25 basis points. Last Fed rate cut we saw was in December, and we talked about a lot what happened there, and a little bit of a sell off after that December Fed rate cut. But we'll see this time maybe different. Also, want to give a shout out to some traders in the chat. Just pretty good day for Dan Trader. Came out positive for the day and the week. I saw somebody else said first red week in a while. That was Charles Green. Donald Keys red week didn't follow plan. Made notes on what I learned. It was a very different type of week. Donald, that was my week as also. Coach Paul and I were just talking about that in the green room. Just not really following plan. The reads were right. The analysis was right. We'll talk about analysis that we did in the opening call in the Nasdaq. But it played out pretty well. But as traders, we get paid to execute. So maybe try to figure out if your reads are right, what is going on with the execution part of it from there. But let's get into these NASDAQ charts, Coach Paul. On a half an hour, looking at last night, pretty muted overnight session, but there was something that you saw, Coach Paul, that you pointed out.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead.
Starting next week, I'm going to give my daily levels. But in the NASDAQ, the pivot level was the low of the day. What was it? 22 was 70.
23,970.
70. Yeah. And the low was 68 and a half. But even more than that, this happened last night. I wasn't able to take advantage of it because, believe it or not, I sleep. Um, but that's being the pivot because we had this big rally yesterday, and we talk about one of the ways people use pivots is in a bull market. If the pivot holds, you want to be aggressive on your buys. So if it gets down there, you're looking at that point to hold. So we had this rally yesterday, good rally, finished near the highs, and there's going to be a dip somehow, a large percentage of the time, but it touched that area. Now it's just not there to go buy blindly. You can if you want to manage your risk. It's a price, but let's see what happened in a 3 minute when we got down there last night.
All right, so let's take a look. So Coach Paul's pivot right there, 23,970. I just mapped it out on this chart as well. If we look at the 30-minute, and this is why we frame out these news candles all the time, that pivot, I just deleted it. How are you going to draw something and delete it? That pivot was also very near the high of that CPI candle, right? So just
Yeah.
having some of these levels on your charts could give you areas of interest. And like you said, Coach Paul, we were sleeping at this point. I was knocked out. But if we have a level that we mark out. We had some high volume into this zone. This is a 3-minute chart. If we change it to a 5, it might look a little bit cleaner, but there's that high volume, Coach Paul, at highest of the day into the pivot.
Yeah, and it was big selling into the pivot,
Yep.
and then it stopped. We found the last seller, and interestingly, the biggest volume was buying off that pivot. Now, I keep telling myself I need to start trading when London opens up.
And they had some beautiful moves today in London. Crude
Yes, they
oil, yeah, there were some nice moves for
did.
sure.
So we had a J trade, closed above, we attached the anchored VWAP, and it's a picture of what we'd like to see.
One of the things I want to talk about is, like you said, Coach Paul, we're asleep. Most of us are asleep. Some of you may be awake during this time and you catch on to this trade. But in doing this analysis, where most of us might be coming in for the New York session to trade, how do you use that information? Now, if you were watching the opening call this morning, Hogan and I, go over charts every morning. And also that Twix, Billy said, seeing charts on Twix. Shout out to Eddie Horn. Uh, that was Eddie's. It's the way Eddie talks, says Twitter. But shout out to Eddie.
Shout out, Eddie. If you're listening, I hope you come back soon.
Hopefully everything is
Rest.
good, Mr. Horn. So one of the things we look at is on a higher time frame, right? We have this candle here, right? So that 3-minute candle that we marked out is this low range here. But one of the things I talked to Hogue about this morning was when we look at the 30-minute chart, right? So this reversals for this 30-minute candle starts with that 3-minute. You could mark out that 3-minute range, or what I like to do is, okay, we're coming into, we're looking at 30-minute charts. Where are potential areas for the market to trade into? Especially if we're saying that this is a buy the dip market, right? I don't want to be buying all-time highs or near the high, especially with the rejection that we've seen in the NASDAQ. But if we can get a pullback to somewhere, where might that where's a high likelihood that we could get a pullback to? If we can see it, that 30-minute candle turned out to be a J trade as well. Highest volume candle, we closed above it, check back into it. Risk can go on the other side, and that's a lot of risk. We're talking about 50 points in the NASDAQ just right off the high of this candle. But if you're trading micros or just a contract size that fits your account, that's a pretty nice trade there, right? For the New York session, we come right in. We see some selling initially. I think we've seen this in the NASDAQ over the past couple of days, right? Sell off early, and then we see a recovery. Here's the first 3 minutes in the NASDAQ. Move some of these lines here so we can see what's happening. But that VWAP really never left the range to the downside, came into that demand area where that 30-minute candle was. We have the major level 24,000 right there. And we're doing all of this because you really got to, Hogue says, the checklist all the time, putting a puzzle together, right? We're putting puzzle pieces together, and then the market is telling us what piece fits next into the puzzle. Um, and the puzzle here is, and we talked yesterday about not trading setups, but trading situations. Mo was talking about that on Topstep TV. The situation is that this is a buy the dip market for now, right? So what setup facilitates, what setup provides the best trade in a buy the dip market? It's rejection at a demand area that we could find, and we found one here with that reversal last night. So even if I come into the New York session and I'm like, oh man, I wish I could have bought it down here during the Europe session, you weren't awake then. So how can you use that information to take a trade in the New York session? And there you go, right there, right? We have another high volume into that. I'm sorry, I'm drawing so many uh, boxes here, but this high volume candle right here, we close above it, and that was our push. So uh, really nice technical day in the Nasdaq, I think. It was hard
Yeah.
to kind of buy at these highs, but a really nice technical day in the Nasdaq. Not a lot of news, but just some great technical patterns that played out. Go ahead, Coach Paul.
Yeah, it was. It's hard. Good point. We had talked about this earlier in the week where I like to just trade one side of the market. I'm either looking to buy it or not. I don't want to be short. That
Yep.
was advice given to me by Peter Stottlemyre. Um, for me, I'm looking for a dip buy. I wasn't around. I had a family thing to go to, but I came back this afternoon and I'm like, I'm not buying these. It's already done for the day. Now that's the way I want to get in early and lean on a cheap trade. But like you said, just buying it blindly, I just if it's not part of a setup, part of a plan that you have mapped out, taking that just because it's up and you're what are you relying on?
Hope.
Hope that it keeps going. The hope is a four-letter word
Yep.
in trading, at least. So it was a great point by your coach. Thanks for bringing that up.
You, Coach Paul. Yeah, just a really nice grind higher. There were some comments. I was on with Dolby and Carlos right before Power Hour, and some of the questions in the chat inevitably are, "Hey, do you guys think there's a sell-off coming into the end of the day? Is there potential for a sell-off?" Now, I think you have to be very careful with a trade like that, but this is actually a beautiful short here. If you were watching what happened, um, so we grind up all day, Coach Paul. There was a quote you said maybe a year and a half ago. Weekly candles usually don't end on the highs. Now, sometimes they do, but there's usually a wick, right? Even on this one, there's a tiny wick here. We could barely see it.
Yeah.
This weekly candle, the high was, and I'm looking at August 4th. The high was 23,767.75. We closed at 765, so it's a tiny wick. But that's in the back of my mind on a Friday as the market's continuing to grind higher if we're at the highs of the week. Now, some traders in the chat asked the question, hey, do you guys see a potential short coming in? And you can go back and watch the segment with Dolby and Carlos. But the one thing I pointed out, Coach Paul, is that just because I want a short doesn't mean that the market's ready to do it, right? So I think that a good approach here is to start to look at where is a potential high likelihood area that the market could turn around. Because we're just grinding up at this point. We don't know where it's going to go, right? It's just continuing to go up, continuing to go up. And maybe if you're not even looking for a short, where might it make sense to start looking for taking profits? And then at what time of the day also, right? If anyone was trying to short this market at any other point before Power Hour, they had one 41-point pullback that took an hour, another one here, 30 points that took almost an hour. But the quick move is going to happen when, Coach Paul?
Towards the close.
Towards the close.
The
Towards the
last
close.
half an hour, most likely even the last 15 minutes.
Right. So this was a nice short, right? Watching the guys doing the reversal challenge for Power Hour. This short makes a lot of sense here because if you have traders and some that might be day traders holding on to positions for the entire day, at some point you got to close the positions, right? We are in day trade accounts. Of course, there are multiple time frame market participants. Some people are swing traders; they're going to hold on. But if you're a day trader, you got to close your position. And here's the last hour. Mark out that last hour. For the last hour of the day, we did nothing but go lower, right? So this is, the traders kind of reconciling those positions, and it makes sense. There was a ton of size here as well. I don't know if you guys were watching Topstep TV, but at 150, somebody came in at 141 with 100 contracts to sell, and then another one at 159, pretty much the high of the day. Maybe getting out of those positions, but if you're looking for that short, um, this could be in your playbook, but in that playbook, it has to take time of day into consideration. If it doesn't, you're just trying to guess when that high is going to come in. And more than likely, Coach Paul, you've been doing this for a while. It's that last hour, last half an hour, last 15 minutes or so.
Look for some kind of what I'd say reversal candle, like an island candle or some kind of relative strength. But the key is it's a quick trade.
Yep,
Another thing is don't oversize that trade
no, please don't.
uh, because it can blow up in your face because you don't know which high you're just getting a feel. It's a probability play. It's
Yep,
not a certainty play.
for
Um,
sure.
and you'll
And
never hear me say there's a certainty play because there's not ever.
good wait. We had some decently high volume up at this high, right? If you don't want to call the high, wait for that candle close below some recent high volume, right? We had this spike here, close under that, maybe that's your opportunity to limit risk. But again, this is a counter trend trade, reasonable expectations for the outcome of this trade, because if you're looking for 100 points, could it happen? It could, but sellers didn't get that much today. Billy also pointed out that Jack called out 6606. Great call by Jack. Look at the high of the day, 6606 to the tick. And why he's looking at that level is because it's a whole number level. SPX, which is the underlying of the S&P that we're looking at, that lines up with 6600 in the SPX. So again, back to that, where is the high likelihood level that the market has the potential to turn around, right? And it might not. It could have just blown right through that level, and then you don't take the trade. But I think if you're going to try to call the high in a market, it has to be something like this. If the thought process is, oh, this shit's just too high, I got to sell it. You ever have that thought, Coach Paul? You ever say that out loud?
Oh, I don't.
I've said that out loud way too many times.
Yeah,
Way too many
but
times.
I won't even say it again. That's something I want to do.
Right.
I've told you in the early 2000, 1999, I kept on selling new highs. I was really good at it.
Yep.
The only
Going
problem is
higher.
kept on going higher. But
Kept going higher. Coach Paul, I'm gonna ask you this question. When you mark key levels, what do you look for and which time frame has a higher probability of success?
good question. Um, what time frame has a higher? Well, when you look at the hierarchy of what I'll do, I'll start with the daily, go to the half hour, and execute on the 3 minute. Now, the most important part of the levels are that gives me a bias is the daily. The next one is the half hour. You've seen me with the 200 moving average. And then it comes down to the 3 minute. Um, which one is more? Well, if I'm executing in the 3 minute or 5 minute, 1 minute, um, that's the one that is the most important because that's where you've decided to trade. And by the way, you have to be comfortable in that time frame. The shorter the time frame, the more you're going to trade. But that's the hierarchy. but the most important becomes the one you decide to execute in. Because if you execute a trade on, let's say, a 5 minute and it's not working, don't use the temptation. Well, let me look at the 10 minute or the half hour. Let's see what that looks like so I can have a reason to stay in. I tried that. Uh, my advice. This is advice. Don't do it. Um, because you need to. Once you decide to get into a trade, you have to stay on that time frame.
Mm.
Um, it, it'll have continuity because most of the time when we look at a different time frame, we're scrambling to find a reason. It's usually ego driven to
Please just tell
find.
me I'm right.
Yeah, it's to find a. Yeah, we are human. I'm guilty. Guilty. I don't do it anymore. But get used to that. That's the one you want to. That'll be the most important
I lost
for
your
your
audio.
trading.
Hold on one second,
The
Coach
one
Paul.
you
It's on my
execute.
side. My AirPods died. Too much
Oh
streaming
no.
this week. Okay, there we go. Now I got you. I can hear you now.
All right.
Do not try to change time frames to confirm your trade. Maybe it
Yeah.
matches up on all the time frames, but if you're switching time frames to look for the right answer is establish what your risk is and
Yeah.
don't change anything.
Yeah. It's usually the answer is you should have gotten out.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
It's,
Take the
it's
next
like
exit.
this. It's like the test you took in school where you didn't really study for it. Now you're just looking at different patterns. I got enough B's here. I bet maybe I should take a C.
Yep.
No, you didn't. You're caught. Get out. Take the loss.
Maybe I should study next time.
Not that I've ever had that problem, but friends of mine have told me that.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at gold here. Genius Genie says, sometimes I just sit down and listen to Coach Paul. That's what I do half the time here as well. Part of the reason I love doing this show is because I just get to let Coach Paul riff sometimes and just sit here and listen and usually get some pretty good lessons out of it. So I agree with you there, Genius Genie. Let's take a look at gold here, and then we got some questions that we can get to. Uh, Gold, Coach Paul. Let's look at a daily. Let's look at a weekly first. What are we seeing on the weekly? New
It's
weekly
a,
close.
it's a that's a different chart than the
Yeah.
daily.
Oh yeah.
Um, that just looks explosive. Now, and like I just said about stocks, if you're a fund manager, you should be high at the all-time highs, right? You should be long. High, that's a personal choice, but at least long. Um, Now here, I don't. This looks great, but if something happens and we break that low before early next week, we could have like a spinning top, an island top. Um, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but this looks really good. The only thing that could change it is a breakdown of that early next week. We're seeing a little in the daily. It's some sideways action. Maybe it's taking a breath. Um, and that's what it seems to happen. But we have that hammer candle too. So let's frame out what's the. We're right by the 200 moving average on the half hour also.
Yes, we are framing out that daily, the candle that made that all-time high. We closed in it on the daily, right? And we talked about this a little bit this week. We're balancing inside this candle, which is okay for now. What you don't want to see is, I mean, maybe you do want to see it if you want to short gold, but if you want to be long, I don't really want to see closes below this daily candle because we are kind of extended from that 20 moving average, Coach Paul, 35 30s. So I wouldn't be surprised at a potential retest of that before our next leg higher. It is obviously going to catch up to the market as we sit in this consolidation, but if I'm long, I don't want to see closes below that. And it's been a good spot to look for opportunities to buy the dip. But on the 30-minute, we are kind of sitting right on that 200 moving average. We see this. So, Coach, Paul, I'm gonna do something real quick because I feel like we see this more on the. If this was I flipped the chart.
Yeah. You'd be looking at, well, let's ask the audience, get some audience participation. Coach Jay just flipped that chart. What does that look like? How would you look at that? Let us know in the chat.
Let us know in the chat. How would you be seeing this chart right now?
By the way, how did you flip that chart?
Uh, Alt I, Alt I.
It looks spooky in reverse,
It
Billy.
does. It does.
It does. I'm getting anxiety. Looks bearish.
Bearish flipped, or does this look now? But now we're gonna
Well,
confuse everybody.
now we're gonna get into options territory. I'm bullish on puts.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yep.
What does that mean? Which way are you expecting
Yeah,
the market to go? But yeah, I mean, if you flip this, right, this
a
looks like
bottom.
the bottom here, right? We would be talking about,
Yes.
okay, there's this high volume candle here. If we close above it, there's a potential J trade, and we have all this pressure from the moving averages kind of converging in this area, right? So a lot of times we see that explosive move when we get that cross above the 200, and that white line must hold, right? So we'd be looking to buy. I think I would be looking to buy this, right? Coach Paul, we've pulled up charts that look like this sometimes, and we're like, oh, look at that, right? The
Yeah, it's extended.
right. Um, the one thing I will say is that yes, the higher time frame trend, and we flip this back over, is to the upside. So it's gonna take a lot, right? It's gonna take a lot to get through here. Um, a lot of selling. We've tried it already a couple of times, but these moving averages are kind of getting a little tighter here. And Courtney, you just said it right, a rounding bottom. So we'll see. And anyone think of a potential catalyst next week that could get all of these markets moving pretty volatile? Uh, there you go, Billy. Right? If only there was a catalyst coming up. Uh, there's always a catalyst. It seems like there's always a catalyst. September 17th, right? That FOMC meeting. We may see gold range here until then. We may see the equities do the same. It's 2 more days of trading. But that meeting is going to get all these markets to move. So we'll see. We'll see what this means. But yeah, that it's coiling. That's the word you use, Coach Paul. Coiling. And
It's coiling. But
you,
I, you know, this is analysis. Like I said,
right,
but I love when you flip that. That's an old um, traders used to use that one is it's not to get blind to what you want to see. Always think about what the other side of the trade is, just to balance out your um, impulsivity. Like, because when I look at that right away, I'm like, Jesus, right there, I'm looking to buy that, whatever that is,
right, right.
but not yet.
Not yet. Still has to break. Still has to break above that 200. And if it does it with some volume, then even better. We got a question here. I don't think we've ever answered this one. What strategy are you guys trading? Supply and demand. That's from Olu. What would you call the strategy that you trade, Coach Paul?
Momentum, trend following, but that's what I learned. Um, is the trend is your friend? Take trades with the trend. Now, that's the and so that fits. It fits me. Now, it doesn't mean anything else is wrong. But what we're looking at is trend. So it gives me an idea. Like I said, I only want to trade whatever one side. Um, so I'm a trend trader, but if you're trading on in the day, you really have to. Then you have to break it down to some type of opening range breakout, um, a volume anomaly, That's the way I look at it. How about what would you say you are, coach?
I'm a momentum trader and a volume analyst, right? So all my trade decisions should be based on volume, are based on volume. Uh, and then, we kind of just put everything in a pot, right? I think that's what trading really is at the end of the day. You mix a bunch of different strategies. Do we use supply and demand? You know, yeah, right. Everyone's going to mark out a level at some point. Do I trade strictly off of supply and demand? I would say no, right? There has to be some type of volume signature at that supply or demand level to get me into a trade. Right. So I would say I'm a volume analyst, but yeah, we use supply and demand levels as well. Um, yeah, Billy, I would consider that a consolidation in gold. Anything else you got on gold, Coach Paul?
Nothing else, but in a very interesting area. So that's it for gold. Hey, we have time for questions, or should we wait till we go over crude?
Yeah, we have time for questions. Let's go ahead.
So, Robin, um,
While you
oh,
take this one, I'm gonna step away for a second, Coach Paul. Go ahead.
yeah, someone's asking about to go over the moving averages. Someone was here using the EMA 9, 21, 50, 100, and 200 for my trading, and it seems to work out well. What do you think and use? Well, if you've been watching, I look at the 20, 50, and the 200, and I just use a simple moving average. It it doesn't. They're very very similar. I did some back testing in the way I trade, and it was slightly better using the simple. But if it's don't change it, if using the EMA and it's working, stay with it. Um, the 9 is old fashioned moving average, a shorter term. So you're looking, what we were talking earlier about which moving averages or how I was talking about hierarchy of time frame to come to a trade. In this one, I would say the 200 and going down, but you're going to execute it on the most likely on the 9 moving average. So here's why people use moving averages. It's more dynamic than just a flat price. Because why? It's an average price. And it moves slower. But here's the key, it gives you an idea of the trend. So when you're clearing like this, we're looking at gold. If it clears all those moving averages, you have a better probability for a continuation in trend. In this one, it's a change in the trend. So looking, that's the 200, but I use the 20 and the 50. And whatever you're doing, it's working for you. It makes sense to you. Execute the plan. Some people only, I don't believe there's any wrong way. There's a way, and that's what makes markets so dynamic. Well, you have to trade. At the end of the day, you trade your personality. Now, when I was younger, I was really aggressive. Um, but probably surprised being a young male at 22. And that was aggressive. I couldn't understand the difference between being aggressive and being assertive, because aggressiveness can lead to recklessness. Assertiveness is had a plan that I was executing, and that's when it changed. So if what I'd like to hear from you is it seems to work out well. Keep working on that. Be consistent. It works for you. You see things, and now you can trade with confidence. And then when you have trade with confidence, that means you see what you, and then you frame out your risk, and you know your size. You can then trade with confidence. So good job. Keep us updated how it goes, Robin.
For sure. I'm seeing some new names in the chat. So shout out to anyone who's watching for the first time. Appreciate you all being here. I want to give some shout outs in the chat. Shout out to Shane, took 25K in payouts, looking to get back into a live account. That is a great step in the right direction for getting back into that live account. So nice trading there. Shout out to Z, also Z Creola in the chat. Always see you in here. Thank you. I passed the combine a month ago and received my first payout today. I really appreciate you guys. We appreciate you for joining and being here. And congrats on the payday, making it real, putting money in your bank account. And to anyone else out there pulling money out of the markets and putting it in your bank account, that's when it makes us real. I called somebody old. Who did I call old?
Old
AB the Don.
school.
Oh, old school. Yeah. Sometimes old school is
And
good.
I love hearing these payouts.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that really, that's all. I can't say that. That is, it's awesome because this is not easy, right? And we just hit a comment here from Theodora. How can I stop over trading when in FOMO? I traded today and almost lost my combine. So I would actually do this when we have time is for those people who watched and learned and got payouts, is there any suggestions you would give to Theodora? I know what I would say, and I'm pretty sure I know what Coach Jay would say. But if for those of you who have turned it around and learned and gotten payouts, what would you suggest to Theodora to stop over trading?
What helped get to this point? That is a great question. Rich in Bed-Stuy says hit the lockout button. That's a good one. But put your suggestions there in the chat because we got a couple people, right? And we know that this is a two-sided game. While somebody's winning, somebody is losing. So love to see the traders in the chat that are taking payouts. Ideally, all 444 of you watching right now are pulling some money out of the markets, right? But we understand that that's not always going to be the case, right? So Gabe had a question. In August, I took $3,000 in payouts. This month, I have 0 payouts and have blown multiple XFAs and combines. Theodora just had that question. I saw Ranch saying I was doing good on my combine today was very bad, and now I'm $100 off my drawdown. For anyone who's in this situation, there are some common themes that fit, right? Like let's take it off of trading for a second, right? If all of us had a desire to be in the best physical shape that we've been in our lives, there are going to be a couple of suggestions that no matter who you ask, they're going to say the same thing, right? You got to work out X amount of days. You got to eat the right things in moderation and things like that, right? And those are pretty widespread suggestions that almost everyone can adapt. And yeah, everyone's going to have different results. But for the most part, right, there's a blueprint that you could follow. It doesn't matter what strategy, right? It doesn't matter what workout plan you find. And imagine a workout plan is a trading style. Hey, somebody told me that ICT was the greatest. Somebody told me that I should be looking at footprint charts. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what style you're trading. You could be naked charts. Some things apply to everyone as a trader, right? And it's risk management, position sizing, it's patience, it's faith in your strategy, and in yourself to execute a strategy, right? Regardless of what it is, right? There's no matter what strategy somebody tells you about, you could watch a million different YouTube videos. None of them are going to say, hey, this is a strategy that only works 40% of the time. Everyone's going to be like, oh, this is the one trade style that you need to be successful. It's not real because even if it's 100%, even if, Coach Paul, there was a trade strategy that if you took it every single time, it worked out 100%. What is the issue there?
Fear, not following the plan.
Not following the plan, right?
Because
So
this
unless
might be the one that doesn't work.
right, right. So it's a lot less about what strategy you're using and a lot more about who you are, right? Are you becoming the person that you need to become a profitable trader, right? And that's really the biggest thing. So if you're in a drawdown right now, take some steps, trade smaller, right? Where you consider whether or not you were over leveraging to get you to the point that you're at right now. If you are, and we've seen a bunch of traders do it, I think we had Andrew, who used to be our moderator, save an XFA from $20 left in the drawdown and brought it back to where he got a payout, right? So it's possible, but you got to ask, are you willing to do the work to get it to that point? And you know, trading's hard. It can be hard, but we make it a lot harder than it needs to be sometimes. Uh,
So we got a lot of a lot of response, and thank you,
yeah,
audience. Let's go through a couple. Balaji says, "Lock out. There is no need to force the trades." Genius Genie, limit daily trade numbers, 3 to 4 consecutive losses or wins, then lock out. You want to go next couple, Coach?
yeah, we got CFA says a low daily loss limit is a must-have. Robin says to Theodora, stick to your plan strictly and lock out if you're not following anymore. Recognize your addictive behavior. I ought to know. So I like that one from Time. Recognize it, right? There are, people ask, how do you avoid tilt? Is it unavoidable? I think everyone is susceptible to tilt, but there are signs that you might be going on tilt. So whatever you can do to recognize those signs in real time and then do exactly what everyone is saying, right? Hey, if I realize that I'm just clicking buttons, and in the past we look for a lot of patterns in the market, right? But if in the past I've noticed this pattern to myself that I just get into clicking buttons and I have a terrible day, then what can I do to stop myself in that moment? Be honest with yourself in that moment, but hit a lockout button, right? Close the platform down, come back another day. What else are you seeing here, Coach Paul?
Genius Genie again, 7 to 8 trades max for me. Malik Awan, because of fear, I close early. Now, these are all great gr- people who have actually experienced it. That's why I wanted it that they have that, because we all, can't think of a trader that has not experienced this. And what it comes out to it in I Blastful says, do any coaches on Tops that explicitly go step by step on their trading strategy? I do. And the reason I do is because all the things we've just been talking about. What happens is our ego gets in front, and if fear-driven decision making is ego decisions at its core. Like I've told many times when I first started trading, I just had to be right. Now you can be rewarded for that, but you can't be consistent over time with it. So I end up on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Unbelievable months. I'm going to buy the red Ferrari to walking home, like with my head down, walking 5 miles because I'm sick of throwing up. Like it's very emotional, this game. So when you're led by emotions and you're making emotional decisions, it's usually because you didn't want to take a loss, because I didn't know how. When we talk about best loser wins, there's a reason that book is so important. It's not that we seek losses, we know how to accept them. Actually know that it's going to happen and how we react. Where now we can move ourselves from the ego decision to the confident decision of, I'm out. When we talk about framing out your risk and accepting it before you take the trade, get to that point. And then you have a reasonable daily loss limit. I'm going to tell you right now, 50% is completely unreasonable. So all those things, and remember, all wisdom comes from experience. When we have some experienced traders out here and trying to help, this is why we do this. So when you go back to it, look at it this weekend, why? And I'm pretty confident it's because you didn't want to take a loss. You're taking it as humans, we take it personally. Like when market doesn't do anything personally, it's about how our decision-making process. And it's we all understand what you just went through. So get a concrete plan and risk management and and then journal it. I can't say that enough. All right.
Good stuff,
And by the
Coach
way,
Paul.
thanks audience for adding to that.
Absolutely. I'm gonna comment on one more here from who said this. Rod Rogers. I like this one. The market has a finite number of patterns. Learn when your strategy sucks and happily sit out those situations. Could not agree more. Know your strategy well enough to know when it does not work. That is a big one. Jared said this is getting too philosophical for me. So let's get back to the charts real quick. Crude oil. We're just going to start with London. Sold off. Beautiful trading crude. Providing intraday trades every single day this week. Crude, if I had to give an award to the best trading market this week, it was crude oil. And that sounds crazy because when we zoom out and look at a higher time frame, it did nothing but range. But this range is big enough. $2 and no, this is almost a 4% move, high to low in crude oil. And this chart doesn't seem right. Oh, that's why
Is it upside down?
it is upside down.
I thought so.
Crude rallied. It sold off on the flipped charts. It sold off,
Yes.
yeah, because
Yes.
Crude definitely did rally today. It sold off yesterday. Flip your charts over, make sure to flip them back over so you don't make the same mistake I just did. Don't trade with upside down charts. But crude rallied today. It sold off yesterday. But either way, same pattern. Volume came in for London and it rallied right into 64, major level, back up to the high of this range. Anything you got on the yeah, that was crazy. Anything you got on the medium time frame here, Coach Paul, in
Oh,
crude?
it reminds me of the perfect world. Like I knew scalpers and they're from the trading pit in their perfect world. It was 7 bid at 8, a million up. That means a million on each side, and it's busy. So in other words, you could keep it's not it's almost too good to be true. Here, you're a range trader. This is God's gift to you. Look at that. We're just bouncing sideways in a range.
Yep.
But today was, I mean, look at that. And if you look at the volumes, and I mean, tell the top of that range, buy the bottom of the range. It's actually been my most profitable market
It's been a great trading
for
market.
day trading.
Been a great trading market. And again, we'll go back to, maybe you were not awake for the London session. And I'm gonna be honest, I may start being awake for the London session. Just to trade crude, I'll put the trade on and go to sleep. Go right back to sleep and wake up for the opening call. But crude has been a great trading market, especially in that London session and look at the past 2 days. But if you're not awake for that London session, uh, coming into the New York Open, on the daily, we were near the highs of that range. We talked about this 200 moving average on the daily. We're well above that, but near the high of this higher time frame range. What did we get at these highs? Hogan and I talked about this during the opening call. We take the opening range trade and we just take it however the market breaks. But you may have heard me mention to Hogue, if we close below 63.56, which was that highest volume candle of the day, almost 8,000 contracts traded in a 3-minute period, we got a J trade at the highs. Closed below it, and we never
Wow.
traded back above the high of that candle. Some beautiful intraday trades with crude oil. This is a dollar move off of that range. It's $1,000 with a mini, 100 with a micro. Trade the equities that are continuing to chop at all-time highs and scaring and wearing everybody out. But crude, crude has been very clean.
Wow. Yeah. Put that in the J Trade Museum.
Right. Now, you got to be in and time just said it. Strategy doesn't work if the discipline isn't executed. I fail here. That is the biggest thing, and that's why we try to talk about it sometimes. We could honestly, we could come and do this session in 15 minutes. This
Yep.
market did this market did this, but strategy itself probably isn't enough, right? And I think we all know that, right? Um, Coach Paul, you coach basketball players. I'm curious to see what your answer is here. What is the difference between a D1 and a D3 basketball player?
What is the difference? Oh,
Uh, uh,
execute.
there we go. Yes. Go ahead.
It's decision making. You can have give me who makes good decisions under pressure. We see this. You can see someone that has all the features, 6'5", fast, long arms, but you put pressure on him and he turns the ball over.
Yep.
And then that pressure, as we talk, we go back to Mike Tyson. What is that quote, Coach? You're the boxer.
Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. It's gonna be a great fight this weekend, by the way.
So it's under pressure. Markets are going to you're going to get punched in the mouth. How you react to it. Without a plan, you probably are going to falter.
Yep.
With a plan, you can take a shot. Okay, is that all you got? No, I got a counter. One of the great things that I love about boxing, it's all about strategy.
Mhm.
It's punch, counter punch, defense. When do you? And it's mostly defense until you can get a time where it's offense.
Right.
Um, and in trading, it's much the same way. You really should be defensive. Not taking trades out of impulse is a defensive move. Following a plan, not all of them, not all, it's not going to work all the time, but over a longer period, you just said, like a basketball player, and he's
Mhm.
going under pressure to make good decisions. Coaches look for that.
Execute consistently. We got one more question here. I got to make sure we get to Rich's question. I think we had a question from Rich earlier in the week we didn't get to. Rich asked if you have, let me make sure I get this. If your strategy worked for a month, but the price action changed and it didn't work month two, how long do you wait to change products or expand the playbook? Good question. Uh, Rich, it would depend what your strategy is because the price action may have changed, right? If a month ago, let's say the market you were trading, and let's say your strategy is a trend trading strategy, right? So you need trending markets and not range bound markets. If the market was trending last month, then your strategy worked out. If the market is more range bound now, then your strategy may struggle. Trading micro golds, perfect. What was gold doing 2 weeks ago? The end of August into just 4 days ago, what was gold doing? It was trending. So I'm assuming you were buying gold, Rich, or maybe you said last month, right? So maybe you were trading this range. So we would have to know what your strategy is, and then you just look at the chart, right? If I succeeded during this, but then I'm struggling during this, what type of trader might I be? Right? I might be AB. The wife says the market is closed and enough is enough. All right, have a good one. Yeah, we're gonna end this soon. We're gonna end this soon. But if you guys got to go, it is also Friday. So if you succeed during this and you struggle during this, you're probably a range trader, right? And the market conditions changed over the past 2 weeks, and maybe what you were doing was not working anymore. Yeah, AB the Don's wife definitely speaks the truth. Um, but when do you change products? Maybe you find a product that looks like what success looked like for your trading. That's why we cover so many markets, right? People are just like, oh, you could stick with one. Sure, maybe. But every once in a while, coach, you can be good at both. You 100% can be good at both. Coach Paul, every once in a while, you'll pull up a market, we'll ask what the scouting report is, and you'll be like, hey, this has the potential to trend. Perfect example, natural gas early in the year. We don't talk about natural gas often. Early in the year, natural gas was the best trending market that we had out of all 36 markets you could trade. Now, some people are going to tell you, oh, that's a widowmaker. Oh, nobody trades nat gas. You're not going to hear anybody talk about that. But if I'm a trend trader, I don't give a shit what market it is. I want a trend, right? Whether it's Coach Hoop was talking about cattle for 3 months. If you're a trend trader and you hear everybody say, oh, you have to trade the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is what all the big traders trade. Oh, yeah. But I'm losing money every time I place a trade in the NASDAQ. So how does that help me? Right? I want to go somewhere where it's trending and we'll try to call out the markets that are, trending over a longer period of time for that reason. Right? We just said it, right? If you are a crude oil trader, Coach Paul, this is heaven for you right now.
Yeah, it's in a good range.
Yep.
So great explanation, Coach.
I'll get off the soapbox. It's Friday afternoon.
No, well, I feel clean now that you're off the
Right.
soapbox.
Anything you got before we go into the weekend, Coach Paul? Any fun plans this weekend?
Um, no big plans. Probably a little golf. I'm going to just. It's September in Chicago.
Yeah,
And as much in New York, it's a great time to get out and do something outdoors. Um, because winter's coming, and September is usually the best month outdoors.
oh yeah,
I think in New York also.
for sure. Or nice, cool fall weather. It's actually
Yeah,
still pretty nice. I think it's like 80 degrees out right now. But yeah,
perfect.
no big
Wonderful.
plans this weekend either. Gonna watch that fight tomorrow, Canelo Crawford. It is sure to be a good one. And then just chill. Everyone, have a great weekend. Coach Paul, anything you want to say to our chat before we go?
Like, have a great weekend. Like I said, get out, rest. Remember it. For AB, the Don, your wife is right.
I'm to shut
So
it down.
get away from markets. Spend maybe an hour reviewing what you did last week, and then be ready for next week. Um, and enjoy life. So have a great weekend. Oh, we lost you.
Should be able to hear me now. Have a great weekend,
Yeah.
everyone. Make sure you catch Anne Marie with the market kickoff, 4:45 Central Time on Sunday. We got Dakota for slow markets. Coach Hoop, I believe, is doing his class in Discord in 13 minutes from now. Check him out and then have a great weekend. We'll talk to you all next week. Bye.